If you have ever thought about getting an inflatable hot tub for your backyard, then you have found the perfect video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the experience of having a hot tub like this for the last 3 months, the maintenance going into it, the setup. Now, I have a RelxTime hot tub that I am using for this video, but a lot of things we're going to be talking about should apply to just inflatable hot tubs in general. But let's go ahead and start from the very beginning, and I'm going to show you how I got mine set up. Now, I do want to mention that RelxTime did send this hot tub out for me to check out. It is not sponsored. They are not paying for anything on it. So I'm giving you an absolute honest review of my experience with this thing for the last 3 months. Okay, since I'm going to be putting this on my pavers here, which is a hard surface, I don't want any holes in the jacuzzi, especially with us walking in it and stuff like that. So I swept and cleaned up the entire area before setting everything up. All right, so here is everything that you get in the box. We've got some filters over on this side. Everything is conveniently put into this carrying bag. So if you do want to travel with it, maybe you're going to go on a camping trip or up to the mountains for a long period of time and you want to travel with it, it does have a bag, which makes it nice and convenient to just get everything shoved into there. All right, I want to show you guys how easy this thing is to set up. Let me go ahead and plug it in first. So here is our unit itself. This is the filter. We're going to unscrew this cap right here. I'm going to screw in the hose back here. We're going to take the other end of the hose and we're just going to put it in right here. All right, so there's 2 caps that can come off here. We want to just take off that top cap because it'll prevent air from coming back out once we get it filled up. So I'm just going to take this hose, we're going to plug it in right here. And then if I lift this part up here on the top, there is a button that says bubble. I'm just going to push on that. It's going to fill it up for us. All right, and just like that, we are filled up and good to go. Take this hose out. All right, now we're just going to put it in the direction that we want it. All right, that looks good. I'm happy with it. We're gonna go ahead and start filling this guy up. And actually, before we start filling this thing up, we do need to put the filter covers on. So we're just gonna screw both of these on right here. There we go. Nice and tight. All right. So now there are a couple ways that you can fill this guy up. You can just hook up a hose and put cold hose water into it. Or what I did is I actually hooked my hose up to the water heater. So now I am pumping hot water into the hot tub. So that way it's already hot for me. I don't need to wait for it to get up to temperature. However, my hot water heater does 120-degree water, which is quite hot for this hot tub. So what I'd recommend is filling it up maybe about halfway with the hot water heater water and then finishing it off with the hose water. All right, so we've had this thing set up for about 3 months now, and I kind of want to talk about some of the things that I've noticed, maintenance issues. I mean, not issues, but just things to keep in mind if you're going to have something like this. And I have a running list here of things I want to talk about. First, I want to go through kind of the setup process. I know we kind of already covered it, but some things that I want to kind of pull out and mention. First is that it does come with a bag. You know, I talked about that earlier, but you can take this wherever you want to go, put it back into the bag, and I was surprised at how easily I could get it into that bag again. That was something that was nice. Typically, I think of like a camping tent where you can never get them back in their bags. This one I could, and that was nice to see. Also, it has the actual pump built into the walls of this thing. I did notice with other brands, they have the pump separately. So it's a separate unit that needs to sit outside of the kind of walls of this unit itself. This one is fully contained. The pump is actually in that wall, which makes it just nice and sleek, and you don't have to plan for extra room around it. Another thing is that it is really easy to pump up. I didn't have to have any extra pumps or anything like that. The filter itself, using that hose, pumped it up really nice. If it does start getting low or you need to top it off, you can easily just do that too. Grab that hose, turn it on, and it's got a one-way valve on it, so air can always go in, but it doesn't come out. So that's something that I really liked about getting this thing pumped up. Now, as far as filling it up with water, it took about 20-30 minutes. That's obviously going to depend on your water pressure, so it is going to be different for everybody. But for me, it was about 25-26 minutes to get this thing fully filled up. Now, a few other things that this hot tub comes with is that you get a cup holder that can be kind of mounted on on the side of it, which is cool. It only comes with one. It'd be nice if it came with two, but you get one cup holder with it. It also comes with patches, so you get two different style patches. I guess one for the lighter gray on the top and then one for the darker gray on the side. It does not come with glue though, so you do have to pick up glue if you want to use any of the patches. And it also does come with some test strips, so you can test your chemical water with the test strips that it does come with. So now, as far as the last 3 months using this thing, it takes about 24 hours to get it heated up. So if you're planning on setting this thing up, filling it up with water and having it warmed up within a few hours, that is not the case. Keep in mind that it's going to take anywhere from 24 to 48 hours to get this thing warmed up, and that is going to depend on the ambient temperature around your house. If it is hot outside, it'll warm up faster. If it's cold, snowy, then obviously it's going to take a little bit longer. Now, once it is up to temperature, it holds the temperature really well, especially when you get the cover on top of it. And that's another thing that I want to mention. Having the cover on top of this works really well. Not only does it keep that heat in and keep the temperature at a solid whatever you set it to, but it also helps with evaporation. I had this thing up and running for 3 months and I never had to top off the water. So I thought that was a nice benefit right there. Another cool thing that I found out with this is that the floor is padded. Something that I was worried about having this on pavers. It was going to feel really hard and kind of uncomfortable to be sitting on the pavers, but the floor is padded. In addition to that, it also has padded seats in each corner. So the padded seats are even thicker, but the entire bottom does have a thin pad on it, which just makes it a little bit squishy and nice to step into and walk on. Going back to the cover, when you do put the cover on, it does have clips all around the sides and it does have a child safety lock. So you can lock the clips if you are worried about the kids getting into it, and that's just an extra safety measure, which I was nice to see on this hot tub. Now the temperature on this thing goes up to 104 degrees. I have set it at 104 degrees, and from what I saw, now it does go up to 104 and it says 104 on there. I did put in a pool thermometer into it, and that thermometer said that it was actually only topping out at 102 degrees. So I don't know if it was my unit specifically, but even though it says it goes up to 104, 102 seemed to be the top of what it would actually put itself to on its own. Now, on a warm day, it was actually going above that. So sometimes I'd lift the lid off and it would say 105. On a super hot day, it actually, I think, got up to 106 on there. So make sure that if it's really hot out, you're turning that temperature down, but it does top off at 104 degrees. Lastly, it does have the bubbles inside. So it's got a tube that runs on the bottom with 130 bubble spouts, I guess it is. Essentially, it is just a tube that is going to be shooting air into the hot tub. These are not jets. These are just bubbles that are going into it. They feel pretty good, but if it is cold outside, it is taking ambient outdoor air temperature and blowing that into the hot tub. So the bubbles might get cold, and it is a way to cool down the temperature of the hot tub. So if you notice, you get in and it's just like, oh, this thing is super hot right now. I wish I could cool it down. Turn on those bubbles, and if it's cool enough outside, it'll start dropping that temperature on there. But if you want it hot, maybe don't use the bubbles as often. Now, there are a few accessories you're going to need when you have this thing. It's not just filling it up with water and you're good to go. I have all this extra stuff right here that I picked up. So this is a rechargeable all-in-one pool vacuum. This is going to be great for sucking everything up off of the floor, because inevitably you're going to get stuff in there and you want to get it cleaned up. You don't want to be stepping on it, especially poking a hole. So this thing is great right here because you can suck up everything that is off the floor. Now, I bought this in a kit. It came with all of this stuff right here. So we have different tips on here. We have one with a little brush on it for sucking up. We've got another kind of hardcore one here, and we've got also an extra long handle, which I typically don't use. But the things that I really like about this is that it comes with a net, which is also something you're really going to need to just skim off everything on top, and then an additional brush, because as time goes on, it's going to get kind of slimy if you're not using the right type of chemicals. And that brings up the next thing. The chemicals that I use in here is going to be this thing of bromine tablets. So we take a look inside. That is what the tablets look like, about the size of marshmallows. So we take the bromine tablets. I actually just drop them into here. I put maybe 4 in at a time. Leave that wide open and then just let that sit in there when we're not using it. I take that out when we do use it. And then you also may need some pH up. Now, it's all going to depend on the levels and the chemical composition of the water that you're putting in there. So it is going to be different for everybody, but these are the 2 that I initially picked up. You may have to pick up more later, but you know, it is what it is. Like I said, I put 4 tablets in here at a time and it lasts about a month. So this giant thing right here, even though it was quite an investment up front, is probably going to last me about a year. So that is worth it right there. And then we've got all the other accessories that I use. So if you are in the market for something like this, Also calculate in the other things that you're going to need with making that purchase. So one thing that I thought was a problem was after months, this thing started bubbling up. I can barely see anything out of it, got all foggy and nasty. But I came to discover that there was an actual piece of plastic that I should have peeled off. So if you have this one specifically, or probably for anyone, check to see if there is a plastic cover over it. Otherwise, this thing looks great. Now, as far as scrubbing down the sides and vacuuming it all out, I'd probably do that every 7 to 10 days. Obviously, it's going to be different for everybody and how many chemicals you're actually using in it. But for me, I found every 7 to 10 days, it kind of needed to be scrubbed and thoroughly cleaned out. Another thing too that I wanted to mention is that the filters, so the built-in filters that are on it, those do need to be cleaned out every 3 days. So every 3 days, if you look at the top display of your unit, it's going to start flashing, and I believe it flashes FL for filter. And when that happens, it does turn the heat off. So you need to go in, you need to take off the filter caps and just hose them off. And that's what I did. I just took off the netting on the outside, then I hosed off the actual filter itself, hosed off the netting, put it all back together, threw it back in there, and that seemed good enough. Once you do that, hit that filter button again, it's going to reset it for another 3 days. And one last thing that I wanted to mention that is specific to this unit right here is that the heater will turn itself off automatically after 3 days if you don't touch any buttons on it. So if there are 3 days of it running, nobody touched any of the buttons on it, it's automatically going to turn that heater off. Now, the cover is going to keep a lot of that heat in, but just keep that in mind. If you are going to use it every single weekend, then that heater is going to be off each time. All you have to do though to prevent that is at least hit a button. So go in there, hit one of the buttons, hit the bubbles on really quick, turn them back off. All you have to do is hit some kind of button to reset that timer, but just keep in mind every 3 days, it is automatically going to turn that filter off when there is no activity. Okay, let me give you my final thoughts on having this thing for the last 3 months. I've actually really enjoyed it. It easily fits 4 people, 4 full-grown adults. We had some friends over. My buddy and I are over 6 feet tall, and we fit in it just fine. I thought it was going to be a little cramped with leg room, but when you sit with your legs crossed in there or off to the side, it actually wasn't that bad at all. It was pretty nice, actually. The height of it, I thought was just perfect for me. You can kind of get your arms up on the side if it does get too hot, and as far as going all the way across, I could easily put my legs and whole body all the way across. I lay my head back on the cushion, lay my whole body all the way across. I can touch the other side, and I thought it was a very comfortable size for me. I love the padding on the floor. That's something that was really nice to have. I was a little surprised that the kids weren't using as much as I thought. And I'm sitting here warming this thing up, keeping it warm all the time, but that was something that came to my mind is I don't need to have this thing up 24/7. It is collapsible. I can deflate it. I can put it in the bag and put it away. Maybe in the summertime, because we do have community pools, we're going to use those during the summertime, and this is going to be more of a winter luxury for us to have set this up. So that was something that's nice about an inflatable one is you don't have to keep it up all the time. If I want to get rid of it, if I want to use this space for something else, maybe we're going to have a party, I can do that and I can move it around. It's so much better than having a built-in hard one or, you know, one of the above ground ones that you can't move around. So that's something that I really like about going this route as opposed to having one of those massive big above ground ones. But that was my experience having this above ground hot tub. If you are thinking about getting one and have some more questions, feel free to leave it in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer those for you. If you guys want to know more about this hot tub, you can check it out in the link in the description. If this video is helpful, give it a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it. As always, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. I'll see you in the next video.